Hi guys, it's Blackie and welcome back to the channel. Okay, today continuing in the ground pounder series, we're going to deal with something that can be, well, it really is one of the most serious things we deal with, and that's hydration, water. We are a being that requires water, period. Much of our exploration of this world was limited by our ability to get the resource of water. So when you look at like the deserts, the southwest parts of the United States, the Mojave, the Sahara, all those places, if there's no water, you're not going there unless you're carrying a whole lot of it. So it is one of the most important things that we do is having water to remain hydrated. Hydrated keeps us healthy and functioning. Hydrating keeps us warm in the winter. Hydrating keeps us where we can get rid of the waste and body products out of us to keep our health up. So we have to have this. This is one of those, you ain't got to like it, but you got to do it no matter what. So in the ground pounder, we're going to talk about now what's available for carrying the water. But more than that, why and how much. Your location is going to dictate a great deal about how much you need. So let's start with the extremes. If you're someone that lives out west, now I live in Alabama, and Alabama has, sorry for the aircraft guys, I live in Alabama, and it has been called the Amazon of America, because if you look at a map of all the creeks, streams, rivers, swamps of Alabama, it's just like that. It's just a hive of them everywhere. You have to hunt someplace that you can't walk 5 miles in a straight line and not have to cross water. It's just everywhere around us. And so therefore I can get by with a smaller than someone else. Now you guys that are going to be out in the desert, out west, water volume becomes a thing. Because let me pass on to you a little something that I read talking about some early explorers that went out there to the deserts of the west in the early exploration time. You carried 3 of a given size, we'll say canteen. You started at your starting point where you knew you had water, you filled up everything, and you set off in the direction that you felt you should go. Either trying to find a pathway through something or getting to the next water source where you believe the next water source was. Let's say from here you can see the mountains in the distance and you want to get to those mountains, figuring there might be water coming off those mountains. Okay. You had 3 canteens full. You take the first canteen, you start at that point, and you go the length you can go safely on 1 canteen. Whenever I get to that, if I have not found a water source, if I have not found anything else, I do a little bit of meandering trying to stretch it a little bit. But whenever I get to the end of that canteen, I start coming back and I go to my second canteen. But Blackie, you got 3 canteens, why don't you keep going? Because if I have 3 canteens and I start out and I go to the limit of that water and I still have not found a source to refill, and I shift to my second canteen and I go to the end of it and I still haven't found water, and I turn around and start coming back, I'm 1 full canteen short, aren't I, to get back? So I'll run out of water a full day walk, we'll say, so many hours, however long I could go on 1 canteen. Was that 5 miles or 50 miles, depending on condition and how much I needed the water, how hydrated I was to begin with. So they carried 3. There was the primary, the turn around and come home, and that third one was in case something happened to those other 2 canteens. If it got dropped, lost, broke, spilled, I had that safety net, because otherwise I will die of thirst trying to come back. See, in that kind of desert environment. So volume. I had one of my followers challenge me with a question last year, I believe it was, where he said that he worked out in the deserts of the Southwest, and that from where his home was to where his work was about 70 miles. And he said in a worst case scenario where you had to walk home, how would I help him figure out how to build a bug out bag where he could walk 70 miles across the desert where there was no water source? He said there is no water at all between these 2 points. How would I get home? You're going to be toting 5-6 gallons of water to walk that far, because in that kind of desert environment, that kind of exertion, even if you're going to just walk at night, see, to stay during the day, you still got to hydrate. You're still in the heat. You're still going to be sweating. Even if you can magically find some place to shelter under, you're still going to need a lot of water. And that's going to be probably a gallon, maybe 2 a day. And if he's in great shape and he can do 20 miles, that's 3.5 days walk away. I told him to get a bicycle and put jerry cans on it, because it wasn't practical to carry water that far. The volume of water is going to make it nearly impossible for you to go that far, like those explorers with the 3 canteen rule. If there is no water between A and B and you've got to walk it, you've got to tote it. And so that becomes a real factor. Now, the biggest canteen that I have is this one. And I got this one 15, 16 years ago, a long time ago, out of Sportsman's Guide. Now, this was a military bag. I believe it was from Sweden, I believe. But I got this off of Sportsman's Guide. And occasionally you'll find these pop back up on there. And they'll have blue writing. Mine's real faded right across here. And when full, this thing holds a little over 5 gallons of water. It's got good reinforced handles on it. And it's got a, where you unscrew this, I got it on there pretty tight, to fill it up. And then it's got a dispenser head where you press this button and that allows water to flow out of it. It doesn't gurgle or nothing. It flows well, and I have held it up and filled up bush pots and stuff like that. It vents fine. It has a way of somehow, through this, venting itself so it doesn't suck down and quit pouring. It keeps pouring. So you don't have to hold it up and let air in it. It works fine. I think I paid like $20 for this back then. If I was going to be going out in the desert environment, it would be jerry cans or this. So if we're creating a bug out bag and you're living in those far west conditions, you have to include a lot of water in your bug out for your vehicle, because you may be stuck in traffic where everybody's snailing along. I got to have gas and I got to have water for me. See, just because I'm sitting in air conditioning don't mean I ain't gonna need water. And so you're going to have to include that. So this is the biggest thing that I carry. This is what I use when we're going out camping and I'm using conveyance. I'm not hiking. I'm going to be using a vehicle to get there. I'll fill this up, and then when I get there, I will hang it up on a tree like that, where I can just press that button and let air, and let water come out and dispense into canteens, cook pots, whatever. 5-something gallons would normally get me through a week, because I live in such an environment. I can get water easily. If you're in a place that you cannot, you're going to have to do that. So the big old jerry cans like the military uses for water may be something you're going to need to carry in your vehicle or whatever, depending on if you're out west, etc. Now, slightly smaller than that I will carry for, let's say, a hike, and we're going to do a 2 or 3 day event, is I would have a belt canteen. We'll get to that in a minute. And then I would also carry my 2 quart as a backup. This was like talking about the 3 canteen. I have my 1 primary canteen, that's for my drinking. Okay. When that canteen runs dry, I start looking for replacement water to refill my water. Then I fall back to this. This provides me with 2 canteens worth. Remember that 3 canteen rule? And so as we go along, when I find the water source, I will then refill my primary and refill this one to the top. And then this one will ride on a strap, usually on the back of the pack or slung under an arm, something like that, as a backup reserve to keep my canteen full. Now, one step down from this, as I've mentioned several times in a lot of my videos, I would run 2 canteens, a primary and a backup, because I live, as I said, in such a water-rich environment, but very hot, humid. Like right now, it's on like 9 o'clock in the morning. I got sweat rolling right now. It's just humid and hot right now. And so you're going to need a lot of water to stay hydrated. If you quit sweating, it's bad. It means you've depleted. You've got to keep adding liquids. And so just standing here, I would still need to drink liquid to stay hydrated and keep sweating to try to cool me, and other means. We'll get into that later. So my primary canteen was my grab. Whenever that canteen got empty, I shifted to this one, but I immediately started looking for a water source. When I found a water source, I refilled through filtration, etc., both canteens and filled me up, drank as much as I could stand right then, and then go on, because I'm a canteen as well. I have to carry water in me, you know, before I proceed on. The further I can go off of what's in here before I have to go to that canteen, I have a longer range, see. So these military type bladder canteens, you've seen them before, are available. They also make good pillows, even full of water. I like the fact that they kept the lining in these, and you can wet this down and it will cool it. No, it will not make it have ice in it, refrigeration, like a lot of the GIs will lie to you and tell you. But what it will do, it will actually cool it down 10, 15 degrees usually below ambient temperature. And that makes a difference, because if you're in hot conditions, and say it's 100 degrees out here, if this water is 100 degrees, it's not cooling me. It is hydrating me, but it's not cooling me, because 100 to 100, it's body temp. I'm not cooling by it. I got sweat to cool. But if this is 10 to 15 degrees cooler, which means it's like 80, 85 degrees, it will taste, so to speak, cooler, and it will help cool me to a limited extent. And therefore, that's an asset. That's the reason they've kept that line and soaked the whole bag down and let it by vapor cooling cool the water. It makes a difference. You guys up in the extreme cold, like I said, that one. Where would you get the big black one? Sportsman's Guide is about the only place I see them pop up, but they still do pop up. 2-quart canteen and bladder. My friends at Kaufman's at the military surplus, and that will be down in the description box. You should have it, and covers pretty good, and the strap. Okay, I'm pretty sure they're going to have it. They also have the Arctic canteen like this for you guys in the extreme north, in the cold parts of the country. It's a misconception that I don't need as much water up in the cold as I do in the heat. That's actually wrong. You need more water in the extreme cold than you do in the extreme heat, because water is how the body circulates around. It keeps all the tissues, stuff, and it helps shift that around, either by blood or other liquids around in the body to help circulate heat. And usually, if you're dehydrated, you're cold, because the body ain't got enough. It's having to pull this back, and it ain't got enough fluid. The radiator ain't full. I'm not able to circulate so well. So you need water. And one of these Arctic canteens like this, and they have these down there at Samson. Don't ask for the cup. This was the only one in the box. I dug through and found it, and it was smashed flat, and I had to reshape it and make it work. But they carry these Arctic canteens. Now they have a drinking mouth, like normal, and then also you can open up the big one, and it's an all stainless steel heavy wall canteen, see, with a big mouth in it. So you could pack snow in it, and then set this in the fire to melt the snow. And they also have an insulated cover that goes over this whole thing. This was never meant to go on your belt, because in those extreme conditions you don't want it away from the fire. It's got it inside of a pocket that's got a flap on it, so you could put it inside your jacket in extreme cold like this and let it sit on your chest or something underneath your coat to keep it from freezing and etc. This thick wall can handle freezing. As long as you don't fill it to the top, it'll handle freezing. And these were apparently only made for a short amount of time. U.S. gauge code 2004 on the bottom of it. They do have these down there at the place in Samson. So if you're looking for one of these, you guys up north, this is the way to go. A good heavy-duty canteen that can be sat in the fire can be a real asset, both for water purification, both for using it as melt snow and stuff like that. How to pull it out of a fire. A glove, or the trick like Dave Canterbury shows in his videos of putting a wooden stick with a string, piece of bank line or something in the middle, drop it down in there and let it turn sideways and block it, and you can lift it up and out of the fire that way. But then I may demonstrate that this fall whenever we have fires. I'll show you how to take one in and out of the fire. But in extreme cold conditions, some sort of insulated carrier so it doesn't freeze will be a real advantage. Okay? Now, as long as we're talking about volume, these water bladders are very popular right now. This one came from down there at Sampson, and I can see this for bulk amount of water carry. You know, they make an inline filter that can go into this line that filters it. The military sells them, and they're available in surplus that you can get. This has got the mouth on it that you cover up to protect it, and it's got a valve where you can turn it on and off for water, so you can suck water out of it. You can also turn it downhill and be able to drain water into it. I have known of people that use this as a dirty water bag. I mean, just take water straight out of the stream, and they put an inline filter into it, like a Sawyer or something like that, to actually filter the water. Okay, that is a possibility. You're going to have to suck hard to pull it through there, or you're going to have to gravity feed it through, but it can be done. A lot of people, this is the Canteen to them. Since the U.S. Army's got rid of a lot of the stuff that I grew up with, this is sort of the Canteen. I am not a big fan of it because, remember that talking about cooling? This rides directly on the body back there. That means that my body is heating that water. So you take that and then you put a pack or something on top of it, it's going to be 100 degrees or more because my body heat's going straight into that. And so it's not going to be cool water coming out of there. That's one of the reasons I've avoided getting one of these, because to me, which I got friends that swear by these, work construction sites, and band camp every year in all the high schools, and they're going to do band camp, these things sell out like that because everybody's out there on the field marching around, they want to carry water with them. I can understand that, and it needs to be addressed that yes, this is a very viable way to carry your water, either putting it on your back or hanging it up on the back of your pack and then running the tube to you. For hiking, this does have distinct advantages, I'll give it that. My only concern, like I said, is it's heating up the water, and there's no way to do anything but chemical treat the water or filter the water before you put it in here, because this is just a bag. That's all it is. Nice big wide mouth bag in there, but it's just a bag in there. And you can get replacement liners for this carrier and etc. So it is a viable waterway. I just honestly don't have hardly any experience. I've used one once or twice at a given event or something, but I have not done in depth with it, predominantly because it's not going to cool my water, and I need that. As most of you know, I went to a Grail a couple of years ago. The Grail gives me the great advantage of utilizing another canteen, where I said I carried 2 canteens in the summer heat. One is a primary and one is a backup. This becomes a primary, and then either that 2-quart or a standard 1-quart that's a cook set, and we'll get to this when we're talking about cook sets later on. That becomes my number 2 canteen. That way, the big advantage to this over, boy, that thing done swelled up and pushed uphill. Not fully down there. Okay, the advantage to this is temperature. One, it's a very quick, easy way where I can take water, filter it, and not have to worry about having to put chemical means in it or boil my water. And it keeps the stuff out of it. Plus, I live in an area that we've got a lot of heavy metals and stuff, even like mercury, in our water. And so I went to this for health concerns down here in Lower Alabama, because they've warned us down here of heavy metal contamination in the fish and etc. So if that's becoming a factor in the fish where they don't want you to eat fish down here, maybe 1 or 2 a month, I want to filter my water. You know, just peace of mind, nothing else. But the biggest advantage to this, and this is expensive, these are over $100 guys, these are not cheap. The biggest advantage to this is the fact that if I find a stream coming right out of the ground, and there's a lot of them down here, that water's like 56 degrees. Well, when you're in a 100-degree temp, that 56 degrees is ice water. And I can fill this up, press it, and immediately filter it, and have cold water. I ain't got to pull it out and put it in a canteen and put pills in it and let it sit in the heat for an hour or 30 minutes to process, nor do I have to boil it to bring it up to 200 and something degrees, 212 degrees, and kill everything in it, and then wait another half hour, 45 minutes for it to cool down. That's an hour, hour and a half out of my time to generate water to refill my canteens. I can do it instantly with something like this. And so the Sawyers and things like that are filters do give you the advantage if I can use the ambient temperature of the water as an advantage in my hydration. So that's why I went to this. So the system now is this, and either the 2 quart or 1 quart is a cook kit, usually the 1 quart, because the cook kit with Canteen, so this fills up to that. That's the way that I roll at this time. Now on the small end, again, excuse aircraft guys, I'm not far from military air base, and they're recovering and launching aircraft right now. These Swiss type canteens, and SRO and the Pathfinder sells a modern version of this that's got a screw cap instead of this cork. This is an old original. Something like this in a haversack is adequate for a short hike. You know, like I'm just going to do like a 4 or 5 mile hike. I'm going to start out hydrated, right? I have the ability with me, if I'm not carrying the Grail, I could stick this in a haversack. This is just enough for something like that. It's also good to carry other beverages in, but that's a topic for another day. But the point being is, I've seen several people putting these into their haversack and saying that's my water thing, and that is true. But remember the 3 canteen rule? How far is your range on one of these? How long does it take you to drink that? How far can you go before this is dead empty and then you have to stop to either boil water? I know you say you can boil water in a canteen cup. Did it for years, understand. Not in this one, but understand. Or chemically treat and use this. You're going to do a lot of stops on a hot day. You have to have a lot of water sources, and just prepare to filter it somehow and put it in here. You know, would this and my Grail work? Yeah, because the Grail could ride in the pack, and this could ride on a hip or something, or a thigh pocket even, for a quick, yeah, that works. So such things like that are usable within your limits, okay? Finding one of these originally in the military surplus, it's available. But you're gonna have to pay a little bit because a lot of these original ones with the corks are getting kind of expensive. I got them whenever this was $5 because nobody wanted something like that. Today you can go get them at Pathfinder, and they're good ones. Friends of mine like Dakota did a review on his. He likes his. He's even cooked in the canteen cup. So it can be a viable haversack little set as long as it's being supplemented with something bigger, or you're doing short little hikes. It'll work. So, quick recap before we go on. Big Sportsman's Guide, somewhere around $20-25, I think. The 2 quart canteen and cover, somewhere around $20 usually with a strap. The Arctic canteen, I think a full set's like $29 with the cover and everything, but it will not have a canteen cup with it. That's the only cup we've ever found down there, and I got it by diving into that huge 4x4 box. So don't even ask, they ain't got them. If I find any in that box, I'll put it out here to you guys. The water bladder Camelback, viable, available, and you can get them from surplus, readily available. I'm not sure the exact price of those. The little bitty flask type, SRO and Pathfinder, or find to use one online or in some sort of surplus. Pretty much the surplus of them has already come in the country and been sold out by Sportsman's Guide and a couple of others. So you're probably going to have to find them on eBay, and then a lot of times people think they're collector's items. So, but if you like that design, you like the idea, SRO and Pathfinder, you can get them brand new. Okay? Now let's turn to classic canteens. This is kind of like the current type canteen. It is a molly pouch that is a one pouch with a flap that you can put over here to make it multi-use and do many different ways of doing it. It rides on a belt if you want to. All you gotta do is unsnap and pull it out, okay? It's got two accessory pouches on the outside of it. These covers are running like 10 bucks from the surplus place Kaufman's down there. So you can make up your own kit if you can't find one entirely. A canteen and a canteen cup, either with the solid handle or the butterfly handles, makes a great cook kit. And we're going to be doing a cooking thing starting pretty soon. As soon as it cools off just a little bit, guys. I'm going to completely redo my canteen cup cooking series. And I'll show you the one I'm going to be using for it. I'm going to go back, and I think there's like 18 or 20 videos. I'm just going to take them down because they're old. I'm going to bring them up to date. And I'm going to go back and do every single recipe that I did back then in the canteen cup set and show you how to do it. And then after that's done, I'll reach out and show you some bush pot meals where it's bigger, you're cooking for 2 or 3. And then finally, I'll show the Dutch oven stuff. So there's going to be a cooking series coming up from me. Sorry, hold on. Had one going right over. But there will be one coming up pretty soon where we're going to go in depth about canteen cups, how to set up your set, like I've done many times, and we're going to start cooking. But for this thing, a 1-quart canteen, okay, good way to go. You can chemically treat, or you can, like I said, run some sort of filtration to fill it up. Filtration gives you the advantage of keeping the temperature of the water. If it's cool, great, you ain't got to heat it up. Chemical takes quite a while to do it, but it is viable. And so is the fact of boiling, and I prefer boiling if I have no other means because I want to kill everything in it, but I prefer still to filter it, because just because you boil and kill the pond scum, you're still drinking dead pond scum if you don't filter it out. Okay, for my friends overseas, there is the British Type 58 water bottle over in Europe with the Crusader cup, which is in here and will fit inside of the U.S. military type carrier like you see. They also, in their set, it comes with an extra cup that fits on the top. I think they call it the cereal bowl. This is a drinking cup, eating cup, and it will fit on top of the canteen, and they have a bigger bag that will fit over. My sustainment pouches we're carrying. Now here in the U.S., these are expensive. I got my set piecemeal over time, but I have seen the actual 58 sets, Crusader cup sets are called, and they're like $85 in a set, where it's the cup, the canteen, the metal Crusader cup, a plastic lid, and then the cover, like 80-something bucks. Not very cheap. But for those guys over, my friends over in Europe and stuff like that, these are very viable as a water carrier device, and they've got the versatility. The American Molly set you can get over there to carry it in, so it's a very useful way to carry water. Again, about 1 quart. Again, run a filtration in 1 or 2. Okay? Then finally, we come to the upgrade. Okay? Now this is one of the $10 covers, but this is one of the Pathfinder canteens. This is the canteen set that I will be using in the upcoming cooking series. I have not had the Pathfinder canteen. I've been using Pathfinder bush pots for many years. Ever since they started bringing them out, I've had them. I've got the 2 quart, I've got the 1 quart, the skillets. I've used a lot of their stainless steel gear, and I'm very happy with it as far as a camping gear. These are not surplus, but you can get them in a set. And so you can get them in a complete set, or you can get them piecemeal from them. It has distinct advantages. One, it's stainless steel, so it can be put into a fire. Remember, we're talking about melting snow and etc., or boiling and purifying that way. It's got a nice big mouth on it. It makes it very easy to drink out of. And more important, you can look in there and clean it easier than the USGI canteen, which has too small a neck to do that. This way I can actually get a bottle scrubber down in there and actually scrub the canteen. And whenever you're living out of a canteen for a week or two, the old Army plastic canteen, now that's a Nalgene right there, but the old Army plastic canteen, you can ask some of the vets and they'll back me up on this. They start getting a little funky. Even though you're putting the purification tabs in, even though you're rinsing it out, they start getting a little funky. And they get a taste to them. And you got to sterilize them somehow. I used to bring mine home and take hot water. You can't put it in boiling water, the U.S. Army canteen, like that 2-quart of the old plastic U.S. Army, because it'll melt. It can't take it. That's the reason I went to the Nalgene bottle. And I understand that the Nalgenes are now being made again, and somebody said they're available now on eBay. I hope so, because the Nalgene, and for those of you that don't know, let me double check the point. See, the Nalgene is a type of plastic that's dishwasher safe, so it can handle boiling water. So I can sterilize this cup by simply pouring boiling water into it and let it cook out any of that funky stuff, that funky taste, see? So that's the reason I went to it over the U.S. Army green canteen. I'm not getting rid of this, but I'm going to this one as my primary because of the advantages to it. This one also has a canteen cup in it with the butterfly handles, and we're going to do all of this, and I got a lid in the bottom. All I've done for this cover is it's got the molly straps on it, and I've added 2 D-rings from a craft store, them brass D-rings, and clipped on a carrying strap. So this acts now like an old-fashioned, you know, round canteen, the old, you know, Pioneer canteen. You can carry it on your side like this. The advantage is you can bring it up and drink right out of it in the set, and you ain't got to pull the canteen out. With this, and in the Grail, right in my pack, is the filtration. I can quickly fill it up. I can put it in a fire to boil water. I can put it in the fire just to heat it up as a cooking vessel, and, you know, set it in the fire in the winter, warm up my water, not necessarily boil it, but warm it up really good, and be able to pour out into the cup and make coffee, hot chocolate, stuff like that, where I don't make the cup so hot it burn my mouth. And that's the problem with stainless steel canteen cups, is they get so hot that by the time it cools down where you can drink out of it and not burn your lips, the coffee's cold in the winter. So this way I can kind of hedge my bet. I can actually use the canteen for it. These are available right now, and I bought mine. What I got was the stove, the cup, which is the butterfly handle new one, and the big mouth canteen. He had a sale going on, and so that's the reason I got it for that. I already had the canteen lid, and again, I will show this in an upcoming video when we do the cooking. Your water carry system is one of the most important things you carry when you're coming out in the field, either in the winter or the summer. Your range is limited by how far you can go with that water. If you don't have water, you don't go far. You can die in the summer heat in a matter of an hour or so if you're dehydrated and exposed to the heat and you simply can't cool off and you cannot hydrate. You can die from it. As I mentioned in my live recently, a young man, healthy young man playing football at a local high school, was out practicing. With heat index, it was 109, and they had him out there running and practicing. These are kids in high school for a football game, guys. This ain't training for war. And they had them out there running their drills, pushing them because we got a game coming up. The young man simply collapsed. And by the time they got him to the hospital, he was gone. No other medical issues. The heat will kill you in as little as 45 minutes in the right conditions. You have to be hydrated. You have to carry water. So, when you're allocating space and bulk into both your camping gear and into your bug out bag, depending on where you're at, as I said, out in the desert or whatever, or in some place where it's hard to find water, you have to allocate a substantial space for that water because your range is limited. How far can you go on a canteen and get back? You know, if you only got one canteen, it's half a canteen and half a canteen back to the water source. If there ain't no other water out there, you ain't going far. And you ain't going to travel far without water. So therefore, it is vital in our camping, bushcraft, bug out that we provide for this. Have redundant backup systems. No, Blackie carries two, a primary and a backup, because I've got water sources everywhere. If I was coming out west with you guys, I'd probably carry something bigger. I would have to reduce my gear to increase my water volume to have the range. See? And so, to recap, guys out in the west, jerry cans, big stuff to carry in your vehicles or to carry on you somehow. You know, just depends. 2 quarts. You got the 3 rule there. Cold conditions, something that won't freeze, something that can handle it. The Pathfinder would also be a good choice in that because it can handle cold conditions and you pack snow in it and melt. The Camelback, good for I'm doing a lot of hiking, not really encumbered, and I've got some other filtration to fill it up. Flasks for very short hikes. Grail, I can take advantage of the water temperature and I can filter quickly so my stop times become a whole lot shorter. As I hit my opportunity, I can fill my water loaders in just like 5-10 minutes and be on my way again instead of sitting there boiling water, chemically treating water, and waiting for that process. See what I'm saying? Modern canteens. The European guys, the Model 58's available in surplus. Pretty good thing to have. The cups are really handy for that. The U.S. Army kit is very viable and usable, but remember the old green canteens cannot be put into a fire and cannot boil water or put boiling water in them. They will melt, so you got to be aware of that. The Pathfinder canteen is not surplus, it's current available, but it brings more to the table. See? So you have to choose what options fit your budget and fit your needs. My advice when laying out an entire kit, the big money items, do not scrimp on your sleeping. I need to be able to sleep comfortably. I need to have the shelter system and sleep system that's going to allow me to sleep comfortably, because you can't replicate sleep. You can grunt through anything, but without sleep you don't do it, and we're going to get to that a little later on in the series. Water. Overdo your water a little bit. Yes, it's heavy. God, Blackie, I don't want to tote it. I know. Been there, brother. I know exactly what you're saying. But I've also been there without water. I've been on events where I thought, oh, I've just got one canteen, that'd be enough. Canteen run dry. And we kept going, looking for a water source. And even though I live in a place with so many water sources, there was not a water source we could find that we could get access to because it was down a super steep bank or something like that. And you could see it, but you couldn't get to it. Or it was swamp, oh my God. You know, stagnant swamp. And it didn't have filtration. I learned, you go without water, you get sick real quick. You get weak real quick. So you gotta have water. Lay out and figure out your needs and then buy the equipment. Buy once, cry once. Get what you need. That Grail is the most expensive thing I paid for up there. And the cost of everything here, I would say the most expensive thing up there by far is going to be that Grail. The number 2 thing is actually going to be the British canteen set. The number 3 thing will probably be the Pathfinder set, and then the rest of them combined are available in surplus. Look around, see what's available. Hope you've enjoyed this, guys. Please leave any questions or comments down there. I'd really appreciate it. I enjoyed the feedback from you. And you old vets, throw down there about the times that you got stuck without water or had to get water from questionable sources. Things like that. I'd love to hear it. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.